Hi, everybody. It's an informal day here at Shaglick where I've run out of bow ties. So if you have any extra bow ties, you can give them to me for future classes. Um, Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about exercise six. You have eight total, so you only have three more after your midterm story, which you're turning in very, very soon. So, exercise six is based on our work on dialogue. So, your goal here is going to be improving not just your dialogue, but the stuff that goes around the dialogue. Fairly straightforward exercise, but lots of things for you to consider. First thing is before you even start writing, I want you to pay extra special attention to the rules of dialogue document in my courses that I've laid out for you. It is not the only way to format and indent dialogue, but it is one way that is consistent and correct. And part of your grade is that your stuff looks good here. So it needs to be formatted correctly. Your punctuation needs to be correct. All the things that are a little bit tricky with dialogue need to be correct. And one of the reasons for that is that if you don't do this, it looks really sloppy. Looks like you're not paying attention, and it's harder to read. So if you want us to go on this journey and trust you, you have to make it easy for us by consistent punctuation and indentation and formatting in dialogue. So please read that document and take a look at it. And if you have any questions, drop them off in the craft forum as always. So here, the basic thing is this. You are creating a dialogue between three people on some kind of public transportation. Now, as always, the tricky part here for you is to create some interesting characters and an interesting mode of transportation. So, if you're a ride to class on an RIT shuttle about gaming is not very interesting. So I want you to really, get back to using your creativity to come up with unusual situations. That means three people who have, some decent characteristics and a transportation or public transportation that might be really interesting and unusual, and a lot of wild cards. So, maybe it's a ski bus, maybe it's a subway, maybe it's a plane, maybe, somebody's going for a boat ride from, one of the public boats from Java to Bali. Maybe you're going to a rally for migrant worker rights, and you have different people in there, including somebody who, is kind of Republican and is going to counter rally. So really, your setup here is going to make your dialogue writing easier. Once you do that, it's just a matter of writing the dialogue with these three people. Now, remember that the key thing here is that you capture what they're saying and how they're saying in interesting ways so that they're doing more than just advancing a plot. What you don't want is, so you're going to the rally. Yes, I'm going to the rally. What are you going to do at the rally? I'm going to protest at the rally. What are you going to do at the rally? Right? That's not very interesting. So, you being on point is maybe the least effective way to get to really interesting dialogue. What's more important here is that you're getting a sense of the characters and their tensions and their, what they're thinking about through this other interaction that they're having at that moment. That's why there's so many challenges in this exercise, because bringing in more different pieces of these challenges is going to give you better ways of thinking about your dialogue. So, challenge one. Make sure you intersperse your dialogue with telling concrete details. The focus of this exercise is on the dialogue itself, but something that somebody interacts with might be useful, something that just comes out of the woodwork, something that they pass on the bus or the train. So intersperse, lightly with these things. Physical descriptions of the character also lightly, not too much. Challenge two. The more your characters come from disparate places, both physically and temperamentally, the more interesting the dialogue is going to bounce off of each other. They're going to make fun of how they speak, or they're going to have nicknames. You remember, for those of you who watched Lost, one of the most interesting things about Sawyer Brown was his nicknames. That he would always call people, and some were kind of rude, but or Animal Crossing, where they're always like, "Can I call you Pouches?" So please take that into account. Challenge three, talk about stuff that's important. I've implored you through the semester to work on today as a contemporary moment, and I think it's hard for some of you, but we all have conversations, and we need to have conversations that, are about all kinds of stuff. So, have people talk about those or talk around them or talk through them. I'd love to hear a conversation with three college students making fun of their professor who thinks they're woke or, whatever it is. Challenge four, let things get out of control. Let them change subjects. Let people not answer questions and digress. I don't want something that's neat and nicely wrapped up here. I want something that sprawls. You'll figure out later what's important, but some of this may also, just like a good character detail, give you something new to work with, right? Somebody says, somebody's picking up on somebody else and they say, hey, what are you interested in? And they say, pigeon raising. And you're like, all of a sudden, you now have scenes about pigeons. And lastly, explore both direct and indirect dialogue. There may be times where we want to hear exactly how somebody speaks. There are times where there might be a little bit of paraphrasing, or you might use some direct dialogue in a summary of a larger speech. So you don't have to capture everything necessarily. You may want to go through things more quickly than others. When might those tools be useful to you? So, a lot of things to think about here in your dialogue. It should be 2 to 4 pages double spaced, in part because you're going to be paragraph breaking every time somebody changes the dialogue. So it's going to take a little longer to get there. But feel free to write as much as you want. All right, that's exercise 6, improving your dialogue. As always, read Gotham before you start and the rules of dialogue document, and I look forward to seeing them.